All right, everyone, now that you have installed Visual Studio Code, let's take it for a quick spin. Let's start playing with your new toy. So first of all, if you've not yet done so, you're going to go to code.visualstudio.com/download and download it for your operating system. And now let's fire it up and see what it looks like. So if you're on Windows, you can just go to Cortana, or same thing if you're in Mac, you can go to Activity Monitor. But in all cases, I recommend that you run it as administrator. So Mac people are going to sudo your Visual Studio Code. Now, Visual Studio Code makes everything centric around the idea of a directory. So Windows people, please go directly off your C drive. And Mac people, you can just put in your home directory. Your permissions will work that way. So let's go here and say File, Open Folder, because we need to make a new folder, which is a new location on the file system for our new project. So once again, File, Open Folder. Folder equals project. And I'm going to call mine Web Projects 2. Call it whatever you want, just remember what you called it. And we're going to say Select Folder. And I've got a bunch of stuff popping open here. I'll go and fix that later. I don't know what that's going on about, but we'll get to that later. So anyway, close your welcome screen. Now, how do you make the simplest HTML page? Well, it's a file, and we're going to go and create a file here. So we'll say File, New File, and we'll call it index.html because by convention, that's what the first web page in an application is called. And .html is quite important because that lets your linting. Linting is a feature of your integrated development environment, which lets the IDE be intelligently aware of the characteristics of the language you're working in. So index.html. And it's going to save here in your file system. So there it is, Web Projects 2, index.html, create file. Now, if you read my welcome notes, you will see that, or if you read the PowerPoint that I kicked out, a web page is a collection of nodes. It's a data structure. It's actually called an edge graph. Each edge is a node, and the nodes are HTML tags. So we're going to start by open HTML and close HTML. That is a HTML document. That is the document object model. And we have two child nodes, two high-level child nodes here, which are called head. And of course, you got to close that. And there's not much important going on there, right? You can give it a title, for example. That's kind of convenient because if you have multiple pages open, the title will be the name that shows up there, the tab, and it can make it easier for you to keep track of what's what. I'll just call that like Peter's grade page or something. And you don't need to do too much else in the head. It's not tremendously useful, but the interesting stuff is down here in the body. The body is where all the content goes, which you put your stuff in. So there I have H1, which is there's H1 to H6. That controls the size of tagging. And then P for paragraph is where you put your content. So let's save that and see what it looks like. Now we've asked you to install the live server extension, which gives you a web HTTP server built right inside your IDE, which is pretty cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth element down is extensions, and go and search for live server. There it is. And then you can just install that, right? That's all there is to it, pretty simple. If you have any questions, ping me on Slack, I'll help you out. But this page should be ready to go. Now, what you see here is in RAM memory. it is not on the file system. To get it to the file system, you have to save it, and the server looks at what's on the file system. So if what's in your server is not agreeing with what's here, then you need to go ahead and save that. So now let's go back to our Explorer perspective up there. Right click, open with live server, right? So you've got a number of perspectives here. File Explorer, search, hook up to Git, debugger, extensions, some other stuff I have for working with Azure and stuff. But for right now, you're going to go to here, right click, and open with live server. And there it is. So here, this part is the domain of the server which you're running on. So that could be Facebook or Bluehost or something. For right now, 127.0.0.1 just means that I'm on my local server, and then colon, and then that's the port number. So you can contemplate that your operating system might be running numerous services. And the service we want, the service identifier is the port number, which is 5500. And the name of our asset is index.html. So congratulations, high five yourself. Yay. You've now written your first web page. Well, maybe some of you have done this quite a bit. Maybe some of you have worked as web developers, but we're assuming no previous knowledge. Now let's try amping this up to make it a bit more interesting. So here I'm giving it some color. If you read my opening comments, you'll see that we talked about how nodes, and H1 is a node, can have data. And here it can have data such as style, and style can have an attribute called color and so on. And that's, just adding a few more elements here. So now you see the one there, that's Visual Studio Code telling me I have one unsaved change. So let's go and fix that. So save, and now let's go and preview it in the web browser. And you see there the effect of color. Well, what if we want to make it a bit more interesting, maybe putting some images there? Now, images should be put in the same directory as your index.html page. For security reasons, the HTML specification will not let you access a directory which is outside the root path of your index.html page. So let's go somewhere and get some appropriate images here. Remember, you can dump these down to your directory wherever your page is. So I'm going to get, those are all cute bears. Oh, cute bear family. All right, so let's save these images down there. So I think I called it Web Projects 2 or something. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now, you could also put them in another directory. A lot of people put them in a directory called IMG. Not going to make it too complicated right now. But you could, by the time you get to your project, you could have a number of assets. You could have CSS, cascading style sheets, and you might have JavaScript, and you might have other things as well. So you might want to organize it by directories. But for right now, let's just put it here. So we'll call it bears1.jpg. And let's get another couple of families here. There's Papa Bear bringing his kidsies out. That's odd. I should be seeing my other images there. I'm not sure why I'm not. So let's do a quick search using our File Explorer to make sure that all is proper. So I have bear1.jpg. Yeah, I don't know, let's call this bear2.jpg. Yeah, there it is. I'll get one more. Bear3.jpg. If you have a number of images, you might want to put them in an array, but we'll get to that later on. All right, so let's go back to our Visual Studio Code now. Now, having 3 images, I could dump them out, but this would be a good opportunity to work with another structuring element called table. So let's make a table. And tables need, right, so we have our major tag, which we've closed, we've opened and closed. And of course, table needs rows and columns. And here in HTML land. By the way, if you need a good reference for HTML, you can go over and use W3 Schools. Down in my basement office, I have literally milk cartons full of books on HTML. Back in the early 90s when I got started doing this, there was no YouTube videos or anything to watch. So it was quite hard in the early days to scrape together some information. However, now if you want one good reference, it's right there. So you can just go and refer to any basic tags as you want right there. Anyway, let's finish this up. So within a row, I need columns, and they call it, I don't know why they didn't call it TC for table columns. They didn't ask my opinion, but it's actually called TH for table header, I suppose. And I'm just going to put something like this just to show you the point of it now. So that's within one table row. And I'm going to put my image there. So notice here in my Explorer perspective, I'm seeing my images as well. So here I'm going to use an image tag. Call it bear1. Now, Alt, I'm not going to get to that right now, but Alt is for the benefit of visually disabled people who are using readers to, their readers can read the content of the page. And of course, we want to be very respectful and considerate of people who may require additional, enablement, like additional and adaptive assistive technologies and so on. So that's why it's saying I should add an Alt tag. We'll get over to that later. For right now, I'm just going to make 2 copies of this. So copy, paste, paste, paste. And we'll just put in the rest of our bears. And let's save and review. Oops. There we go, Peters. Now, you see, that's what I said. The nice thing about having a title is if you have multiple web pages open, you can easily keep track of what's what. And when I hit refresh, then I saw my bears there. Of course, these images are of different sizes and so on, which sort of messes things up. Let's go back and fix this. So I'm going to use another specifier now called width. So I'll say width equals, I don't know, 300 pixels. And a little shortcut you can do is to select some text, hold the control key, click and drag, and you can quickly move, you can copy text down. So let's see what that looks like. So save. See, there's the 1, reminding me that I have 1 unsaved change. It's gone away. And and now they're all being constrained to the same width. Now, because the images are different proportions, some of them will be different height. Don't constrain height and width together. Constrain one or the other, because if you constrain both of them, you'll squish your page out of shape, and I don't know, the pictures will look weird. Maybe I should have constrained height in this case. Okay, let's save and review it. View it again. Yeah, that sort of looks better. I guess that started to look okay. Anyway, this was just a very quick introduction to how to make a file, which is a simple web application in Visual Studio Code, how to use live server, and an introduction to some of our tags. All right, we're going to wrap it up for right now. I would suggest that before class 1, you play with this stuff by yourself, make a little web page on something of interest to you, and maybe post it up there in Slack just to show me what you've done. All right, guys, questions at any point, ping me in Slack. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in a couple of days on Monday, May the 6th, which remember will be online.